let's start with a question you might have even asked yourself. Maybe you've even joked about it with a friend, after a really bad breakup. But that feeling behind the question, it's incredibly real. And the answer? Well, it's a bit more complicated than you might think. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by figuring out what this kind of trauma actually is. Then we'll look at how it's different from classic PTSD and, crucially, how to recognize the symptoms. After that, we'll get into the practical stuff, how to find help. And we're going to wrap things up with a really strong message of hope. So first things first, can a relationship, something that's supposed to be about support and love, actually be the source of trauma? Well, the answer from researchers and honestly from countless people's lived experiences is a huge yes. And it even has a name. It's called post-traumatic relationship syndrome, or PTRS for short. And the key thing to really get here is that this isn't about one single big traumatic event. It's about a series of events. It's the kind of trauma that builds up over time, bit by bit, inside an abusive relationship. And this is absolutely crucial. We are not just talking about a messy breakup or being with someone who wasn't a good fit. This term is used specifically when we're talking about relationships where abuse, whether it's emotional, verbal, physical, or sexual, has happened and left a deep, lasting scar. Now, you might be thinking, well, I've never heard my doctor use that term, and you'd be right. That's because it's not an official diagnosis in the big clinical manual, the DSM. But that doesn't mean it's not real. Experts have actually been studying it for about 20 years now, and they see it as this very specific kind of PTSD that really needs its own spotlight. Okay, so let's dig into that a little deeper. How exactly is PTRS different from what we typically think of as PTSD? Getting these distinctions is so important for understanding the full picture. And wow, when you put them side by side, the differences are pretty clear. Again, PTRS comes from that sustained pattern, that slow burn of trauma inside a relationship, not usually a single event. And the way people cope can be really different too. While avoiding triggers is common with PTSD, someone with PTRS might actually have this powerful urge to confront the person who hurt them. So, what does this actually feel like on the inside? Being able to recognize these symptoms, whether it's in yourself or in someone you care about, is a huge, powerful step. Let's walk through what you should be looking for. A lot of these symptoms are about your body being stuck in high alert. We're talking about flashbacks that can just pull you right back into a terrible memory, a constant buzz of anxiety, maybe even panic attacks. It's that feeling of just being on edge all the time, this deep sense that you're not safe, which, of course, makes something like sleep feel almost impossible. And the trauma goes so much deeper than just anxiety. It can completely rewire how you see yourself and other people. It's so common to blame yourself for what happened, to develop this deep-seated distrust of others, and to struggle with depression or this white-hot anger. And all of that creates this really understandable fear that any new person you let in will just hurt you all over again. Okay, so recognizing the problem is one thing, but knowing that there are real, tangible ways to heal is everything. So let's shift gears and talk about the practical steps you can actually take to start feeling better. Generally, you can think of the healing journey as having three main lanes. You've got professional therapy to really work through the root of the trauma. Then there are strategies to manage those really intense, in-the-moment symptoms. And finally, there are all the day-to-day coping skills that focus on your emotional health. Now, this is really, really important. Finding the right kind of help is a game changer. You want a therapist who is specifically trauma-informed. They have powerful tools that can really help. Things like EMDR, which uses eye movements to help your brain process memories, or somatic experiencing, which helps release the trauma that gets trapped in your body. And alongside that professional help, there are so many powerful things you can do for yourself every single day. Things like journaling to get all those thoughts out of your head, mindfulness to bring yourself back to the present moment, or grounding exercises when you feel overwhelmed. Even just moving your body or talking to a trusted friend can make a world of difference. And this brings us to what is, honestly, the most important part of this whole conversation: hope. After talking about all this heavy stuff, you have to know that healing isn't just some nice idea, it is a real, achievable thing. If you're in the middle of this right now, it can feel completely impossible, like you'll never feel safe or trust anyone ever again. But please, hear this loud and clear. People can and absolutely do heal from this. You can work through this pain and go on to build a healthier, happier life for yourself. It is possible. So you might be wondering, okay, but how long does it all take?
And look, everyone's journey is different, but there's a tangible benchmark here. With the right kind of support, a lot of people start to report feeling significantly better, seeing real improvement in their symptoms within about 6 to 12 months. It's a process, for sure, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
And all of this brings us to one last, really important question that looks to the future. Because healing, it isn't just about recovering from the past. It's about taking what you've learned to build a better future. The work you do now is what gives you the wisdom and the strength to create the healthy, loving relationships you truly deserve. So it leaves us all with something to think about. How can we build those healthier relationships for the future?